All right, hello everybody and good morning. My name is Kendall Barger, and if this is the first time that we are meeting, it's so nice that you're here. And I'm going to be facing this camera to focus on my Instagram, but I've also got TikTok going on over here. So I'll be kind of like looking back and forth between the two, and then I have my notes in front of me. So hello again, my name is Kendall and I use she, her pronouns, and I run a company that supports low energy entrepreneurs, specifically through social media mentorship. I have a business partner named Megan, and I would not be surprised if I mentioned them at one point. So, I just wanted to introduce them. Megan and I co-host the Creative Space community over on Mighty Networks, and that is our space to work in a little bit more proximity with low energy entrepreneurs. TikTok people, hello. All right. Megan and I, we are both rooted in our shared vision of supporting 1,000 low energy entrepreneurs in sustaining their own mission. Because the way we see it, the more low energy humans that are able to sustain their vision, their values, their mental health, and their business, just the better that's going to be for the world, for the planet, and for ourselves. So all of this is in pursuit of what we kind of view as a larger revolution of really taking back our mental health, prioritizing rest, especially as a means of honoring our true creative selves. So, overview of what we're doing today. I am budgeting about 30 minutes for this. 10:45-ish is like my cutoff time. If we get through it all, we get through it all, great. If we need a part two, we need a part two. I'm going with the flow here. I'm just gonna let y'all know that I will definitely be taking some pauses to kind of help like regulate my nervous system. I've got my water, so feel free to join me in those pauses or not. It's totally up to you. Okay, so our agenda for today is we're gonna first define the kind of consistency that I see as problematic and the kind of consistency that I get brought all the time by my followers, my clients, people that I work with and am in community with, as the kind of consistency narrative that is so frustrating for people, especially low energy humans. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the big picture as to why it's problematic and kind of the root issues of that. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that, and I'll address that in a second. Third thing we're going to do is talk about how we can reclaim the idea of consistency to be more human first and compassionate, especially if you're someone that has lower capacity, is a lower energy human like me. And then the fourth thing we're going to do, which is what I'm hoping the bulk of this time is together, is ideas for consistency or not as a low energy creative person. So that's what I'm hoping we'll spend the bulk of our time on today. I'm going to have some prompts throughout for you, some questions that just came through as like these would be good questions, I think, for the humans to consider. Just to let you know, my plan for tomorrow is to do a recap post of today's training. So if you're like, wait, I missed something, or wait, I'm not taking notes, like don't panic. The kind of key takeaways, the prompts, the ideas will all get collected tomorrow and posted on Instagram, and I'll probably make a TikTok video of it. Okay. Couple of reminders and acknowledgements moving forward. So, like I said in the agenda, I am going to touch on why the problem or why the narrative of consistency is problematic and what it's rooted in, but I'm not going to spend the whole time on that, because we could just go on forever and ever and ever about all the problems in the world. And I want to be able to offer maybe some tangible ideas that you could like take away from this. So, but I don't want anyone to think that me not spending that much time on it is me ignoring the fact that there's a ton of root problems that are outside of our like daily control, if that makes sense. Second thing that I want to make sure that we're clear on is that every person is unique. Every human is unique. Every low energy human is unique. Every company that you guys run is unique. Every creative style is unique. Everyone's unique. And that's beautiful and awesome. And that's why working with people one-on-one is so important to me. So for today, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. I might say something that is like an aha moment, an awesome idea for one human, and it's a non-starter for you, and that's okay. And I want that to happen, because you being able to identify what's not going to work for you is going to help us then dig a little deeper to figure out what is going to work for you. So if you hear me offer an idea that you're like, nope, that's not going to work for me, awesome. I love that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take a quick pause. Let me take a sip of water. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Okay. All right, so let's get started real quick on the kind of consistency narrative that I have a problem with, and that I see so many other humans have the same kind of problems with. The kind of consistency that I see as problematic is output focused. So like, what are you doing every day? What are you producing every day? That is the kind of consistency that I see as a problem. It's very like robotic, right? It's like very much viewing us as robots or machines, which we are not. We are not robots. We are not machines. We don't grind, all that stuff. So we've seen this kind of this narrative, and it plays out across industries, across topics, of trying to be as productive as possible, trying to optimize your time, trying to, like make the most out of whatever. And that doesn't have to be a problem. That can be a really helpful way to approach things, especially if you are someone that's low energy and you want to make sure that you're working smarter, not harder. But when it's put in the perspective of you need to be producing as much as possible, you need to be as productive as possible, and when you're not, it's your fault, that's where I'm like, okay, we have some issues here. And also when like the narrative starts where if you're not getting as much done, you're then considered inadequate or lazy. Like, if you've been around for a while, you know that I don't believe lazy is a thing, all that good stuff. So bringing it back to entrepreneurship and social media for a second, I see this the most with content. And I mean, I have comments after comments after comments, in particular on my TikTok videos, about people being like, oh my gosh, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur, or I want to be a social media creator, and I just can't post consistently. And I mean, like, how many programs are there out there that like talk about like, this is the way that we're going to be able to help you post consistently, or posting consistently is like the magical key to unlocking your business, and blah, 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 blah. And there's truth in that. I know there's truth in that, and I'll acknowledge that in a second. But when it then turns into, if you can't do this, meaning post on 15 different platforms every single day, then it's your problem. It's a mindset problem. It's, a mindset block, all that kind of stuff. That's where I'm like, nope, we can have a better conversation than that. Okay. I had some other examples of ways that consistency might come up in like entrepreneurship or whatever, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on from that. Okay. So part 2 of this is why it's problematic. So this is the part that we could go on forever and ever and ever and ever. I'm gonna like condense it very short so that hopefully we can spend most of our time talking about prompts for us to think about and ideas. So, like, bottom line for me, it's very ableist. It's very ableist to assume that everyone can produce the same amount of stuff every single day. Our economic system is ableist, our society is ableist, like there's ableism throughout, and the idea that we should have this regular routine that then is producing things every single day, and ideally producing more and more and more and more, like we keep getting better and optimizing, that just takes away so much of our humanity, in my opinion. So like, personal example for me, I'm someone that lives with depression, and especially in the winter, I don't know what I'm going to have the capacity for when I wake up tomorrow. And it's not my fault. It's not my fault that I have depression. It's not because I've done something wrong. I can reach out for more support, and I'm taking medication, and that's really helpful. And side note, that could open up a whole can of worms of like mental health medication, and are we taking it to be more productive, or are we taking it to support ourselves? But that's a topic for another day. I know I've mentioned this before. If you've been around, you know, if I've talked about this before. Monique Mountain on Instagram has a mind-blowing, life-changing workshop on perfectionism and white supremacy. I cannot recommend it enough. She goes into a lot of depth about how ableism ties into all of this, and, you know, why production and efficiency and consistency and, you know, all that kind of stuff, like how it's rooted in oppressive systems, all of that. So, you know, go learn from her. Go learn from her about all the kind of intricacies of all of that. Consistency, I think, is also a key pillar of perfectionism. That's a topic for a whole other day. I already have like a whole other training planned on perfectionism. Y'all know I could talk about that for ever and ever and ever. But we are seen as to be better people the more consistent or productive we are, whether it's posting more on social media and that makes us a better entrepreneur, content creator, or it's I run every day, so I'm, you know, society's going to look at me as a more, you know, consistent, productive human. All rooted in ableism, especially then when we keep getting sold things that make us feel bad when we can't live up to these unrealistic standards. Okay. There's a lot of privilege wrapped up in it, you know, especially with entrepreneurship. If you're working multiple jobs, if you have kids, if your mental health is struggling, you know, if whatever, like if you get sick, like, you know, all these different things, you know, everyone does not have the same access to things to be able to optimize their output. Like, again, we could go on that forever. I'm going to kind of keep that short for today. I know for me, anytime I hear things about consistency, it feels very invalidating to me. Even if I'm not in a space in the moment where I'm like really having mental health challenges, it's like the part of me that does just feels invalidated. It's a very invalidating feeling. So if you felt that, I'm just gonna like take a pause and just say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you felt so invalidated by the marketing industry, business coaches, you know, social media mentors, whatever. If you have felt like you need to be doing something 10 things the same way every day, and if you don't, it's your problem. If you have felt that way or some iteration of that, I'm so sorry. And we're here to change that, right? Okay. Bottom line for me, and this is how I'm going to kind of wrap up this like first half, and then we're going to dive into, you know, like the good stuff. Like, okay, like what are we going to do instead? Bottom line for me, it is now a red flag if I see someone talking about how to help me become more consistent in blank, and it has to do with my labor or my production. Like anytime I see something like that, it's kind of automatically like a red flag for me. Especially if they are then shifting into, well, I have productivity hacks for you, or we're gonna shift your mindset, or like, God forbid, they start talking about laziness or procrastination. Like, once I see that narrative, I'm usually like outie scouty, and I'm like, nope, no, we're done. So to kind of wrap up like the Debbie Downer part of this training of like why consistency is problematic and what it's rooted in, I want to say that I believe whatever you are getting done in a day is valid. Like, whatever you got done yesterday, it's valid. It is totally valid. It's not enough or whatever. It doesn't need to be fixed. It actually might need to be lessened. We actually might need to scale back on what you're doing to be able to make more room for rest to the ability that we're able to. We might be able to increase the amount of things that you're doing, not because you need to be doing more to be a more worthy human or a better business owner, but we might be healing things. And that's going to be some of the stuff that I'm going to get into. Like, maybe if we unpack a little bit more of the perfectionism that you've been indoctrinated with, that might actually unlock some creative capacity for you to do more things. Because doing things isn't bad. Like, it's fun to do things. There are things that I'm sure that you love to do. We just get indoctrinated with, like, you need to do it this way. There's a right way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it. You're not doing enough. All that bullshit. Okay. I'm going to take a quick pause. I'm going to take a couple breaths. I'm going to drink a sip of water. And then we're going to dive into how can we reclaim this? How can we take back consistency or get rid of it altogether? We're making good time. I'm excited. Okay. All right, so how can we reclaim this to be something that's validating to us instead of something that, like, we're always falling short on? Main thing, and like my main like thesis statement of this whole training, is shifting from an output focused, words are hard, output focused standard of consistency to a values standard of consistency, or a values focused way of consistency. So, tangible example of what I mean by that. I might, and I'm going to give you a real example from my actual everyday life. I have let go of the standard that I could have set for myself, and definitely did set for myself at many points, of I need to, post every day on all my social media accounts. Something that I have shifted into is every day I need to rest. Every day rest needs to be built into my routine. Of course, there's a lot of privilege and access into that. Again, that's not going to be the focus of today. We're going to acknowledge it and then talk about some tangible ways that might work for us. That's been a shift for me. That's been life-changing, because, like, for me, I used to be in a work environment where it was just all output focused and rest was like not even a thing. And it brought me to a very, very, very low place in my life. And I'm like, I'm not going back there. I'm not going back to that place in my life. So in order to do that, I need rest every day. And that might look like watching TV. That might look like laying on my bed and closing my eyes whether I fall asleep or not. That might mean doing a crossword puzzle. It can look different every day, but I'm like, I know every day I'm going to wake up and value rest. So that's one prompt that I have for you. And again, if you missed this in the beginning, I'm going to be doing a recap post tomorrow. So I'm going to take kind of the key questions that I want you to reflect on, and I'm going to put them all together tomorrow into a post and a TikTok for you. So don't stress about, like, if you miss something. What I want you to think about is, like, what values would be helpful for you to hold every day for yourself, to take care of your human, to take care of your community in a way that feels supportive to you. I had another prompt here about that, but I think I want to hang on to it. I want to save it for a little bit later. Okay. The other thing that I want you to think about in this shift is, like, what do you actually like doing? Like, what are the things that actually bring you joy to do when you're allowed to just do them in a way that feels good to you, and, you're not judging yourself, someone's not judging you? What are those things that feel good to you to do, and what are things that don't? Getting clear or getting into a space where you're really exploring that is going to be really, really helpful. And I don't expect you to know all of that right away. That's something I'm figuring out too. With every new social media app, I'm figuring out, oh, I like doing this, or I don't like doing this, etc. That's something for us to explore. But I think it's important for us to remember that you don't have to like to do everything. And things that you don't like to do, you might be able to not have to do them. You know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily have to do all of the things. Okay, so the way this came through yesterday when I was doing my notes, we're going to see if it makes sense today in the morning. When I was thinking about consistency and shifting it, how it came through is I had these two columns. So look at my really beautiful artwork that I did. So the way it came through is that there was column A and column B of the kind of consistency that I want us to be thinking about, or the way that we can think about consistency. Column A was thinking about consistency in terms of your human. So this is my human. because I think in a lot of ways are the things that would be wonderful and super supportive for us to do consistently are the things that help take care of our human, and those are often the things that get sacrificed for output, right? Like, you know, my house is a mess and I feel bad about that, so I'm gonna stay up an extra 2 hours cleaning my house instead of getting sleep. That's just a random example, but that could be applied to anything. I really want us, in many ways, upping the consistency in this column, because that's really the core of like the movement that we're doing, that we are prioritizing rest, we're prioritizing our mental health, we're prioritizing our needs, we're listening to our body, our mind, our heart's needs in the present moment. So when I was thinking about consistency and what we get told we need to do, what we don't do, like all that kind of stuff, I was like, a lot of things that would be really supportive for us to do consistently, we don't, or that's what gets sacrificed first, like sleep, like eating. How many times did I not eat lunch because I was like, oh, I need to do this, and this at work? Rest, which is how you let your body recharge when you are conscious. Things like that. So column 1 could be, what are some things that would be either actual things that are like things you would do, like going for a walk, like that is a thing that you would do. Or it could be, again, coming back to that idea of like, what are your values every day? Like every day I want to value doing something for my back. That's like what came through. I don't know why. Like, let's say you have back problems. You want to do something every day that supports your back pain. And what you actually do for that could change every day, could, vary from day to day. But it's just, this is the area of my life that I want to work on, and it can look different every day. So that's column 1. So if you hear, or column A, let me like pick a reference. Column A. So if you hear me reference column A, I'm talking about like human things to take care of your human. Column B is more of the output focus. This is my smartphone. So this is like the things that we're actually doing. And like if you're an entrepreneur or a content creator, this is like what we are creating on a daily basis. Okay. Okay, boopity-boop, boopity-boop. Both of these columns, I want to filter through the mindset of what does my unique human need. So just like we talked about with column A, really anchoring into the present moment, and whatever you did yesterday, that's what yesterday needed. Yesterday version of you needed. What does the today version of me need? And that's how you can consistently show up for yourself, even if it looks different every day. Same thing with your, like the output focused stuff in column B. And this ties into really getting clear on what do you like to do and what do you not like to do. For me, for example, I like making graphics for Instagram. And so like, kind of playing around with that and like, getting that chance to like explore that, for me, that's something fun that I like to do every day. Okay. All right. I had a thing about perfectionism, but like that's going to be a whole other training. So I'm going to kind of skip over that. Okay, I kind of did that. Okay. All right. What I'm going to do in this last chunk is really just dive into like some ideas, into some like, here's some things that you could try. Here's some things that you could consider. And again, this is where I invite you to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. If I say something that's a non-starter for you, that's actually awesome, because then that's one less thing that you have to worry about. Okay. Something I want you to consider, and we're not here to solve all this today in the next 5 minutes. Something I want you to just consider and sit with is what comes up for you if you hear some sort of advice like you don't have to post on a consistent schedule. I'm just gonna like let that like sit in the atmosphere for a second. You don't have to post on a consistent schedule. Okay. Some things that came up for me, the algorithm, keeping a community engaged. Well, what if I'm launching? Well, what if I need to promote my products? So-and-so business coach said blah, 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 blah. Aren't you supposed to show up every day? Those were things that came up for me, okay? I'm not here to solve all those right now. And so much of that is stuff that, like, is not really needing to be solved. It's just needing to be, like, let go, okay? The reason I wanted to ask that question is because I wanted to be the person that if you just needed another human to say the words to you, you don't have to post on a consistent basis. I want to be that human for you. So if you need to hear that, I am here to say you don't have to post on a consistent basis. Are there issues wrapped up in that? Of course. But if that's going to be freeing for at least one human, post on social media. Yes, yes, yes. Okay? If that's going to be freeing for someone, there you go. Okay. Okay. Another prompt that I had for you to think about is what's at the root of your relationship with consistency? Here's what I mean by that. If you have an issue with posting consistently, and I use issue in air quotes because there's nothing wrong with you. If you have an issue with posting consistently, let's say, let's think about like what that issue is. Is it because you think that the content's not going to be good enough? That's perfectionism. Whole other beast to deal with. Is it that you're not sure what to post? That's fair. That's totally fair. Is it that you would post if you could just do it this way, but you think you're supposed to do it this way? So, for example, like, would you post on social media if you could just do a screenshot of a tweet? I just sounded sold. Would you post if you could just do a Twitter screenshot, but you feel like you're supposed to make like a cute Instagram graphic? Like, things to think about, like, where is our perfectionism showing up? And then that ties into, okay, well, I'm supposed to do this every day when really you could just do like this. Okay. All right. Something else I want you to do is get clear and compassionate with yourself about what your baseline is or what your like bare minimum is. That's a whole other training. That's a whole other topic of getting clear of like, what do I do when I'm like really low on energy? What do I do when it's just kind of like a regular day? And then what do I do when I have like an energy burst? I mean, that is the whole point of my social media mentorship, my one-on-one container. That's like the whole point of my one-on-one container is to explore that with you. So I don't expect you to like have that ready to go right now. That is something to consistently think about. Like what does it actually look like for me to be able to take care of myself at my different energy levels? Because you still need to take care of yourself even when you do have an energy high. What does it look like to take care of myself, and what do I have the capacity to do? And getting clear on what that bare minimum, that like when I'm really low on energy is, which oftentimes it could and should be do nothing, go rest. Getting clear on that can be really, really helpful for you. Okay, another prompt for you. Are there simpler ways to make the content that you're currently making? Kind of similar to the example with like the tweet. And that's something that we could explore together. Are there simpler ways to make the content that you're making? If like totally loosey-goosey, not having any kind of plan doesn't feel good for you, like some people, it's going to be really supportive to have some sort of schedule or something. My recommendation to you, and then this is like also, part of the question is, don't make your goal, I need to post every single day for this month, because the first day that you don't post, then immediately it's like the goal unravels. Okay. Speaking from personal experience. So if some structure is helpful for you, can we find a more compassionate and flexible, target for you? So maybe instead of I need to post every day this week, at some point this week, I would like to post 3 times. That gives you room to rest and ghost and take a break and process without then falling into that cycle of I didn't meet my goal, I'm not consistent enough, like I'm not doing it good enough, and it all just crashes and burns. Okay. All right, so the last like little piece that I had is, and I've kind of gone through some of these already. Again, I'm going to do a summary post tomorrow. So if you're like, wait, Kendall, I totally missed something you said, I got you. I'm just going to kind of like rattle off some ideas that I came up with. And again, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. So one suggestion for you, don't make any kind of content schedule at all, and just let your creative self tell you when it has an idea that wants to be put out to the world. I can tell you that that's kind of how I've been running my content in the last few months, and it's been really nice, and it's helped me strengthen my trust in myself that the ideas will come. So that's one offer for you. Creating templates or routines for your content. So that could especially help if you get into the cycle of like, crap, I don't know what I'm supposed to post. Coming up with some like pillars to fall back on is really helpful. And if you pay attention to my content, you'll see that I repeat stuff a lot. Like the way that I do things, I'm figuring out how I can repeat them so I'm not reinventing the wheel each time. This is not going to work for everybody, but if you have the ability or the means to outsource stuff you don't like to do, that can be really supportive as well. Okay, something that I thought of this morning was that consistency doesn't have to mean doing the same things every day. It could mean doing one thing off of a menu of options every day. So like for a social media example, maybe your goal is to post once a day. One day you post on TikTok. The next day you post on Instagram. The next day you send an email to your email list. Is that like a perfect solution? No, there are gonna be issues that come up with that, of course, but also like maybe not. Also maybe that will like work beautifully for you. Okay, this is the biggest one. Which is, and I said this a couple of days ago. I invite you to do things badly. I invite you to make shitty content. Putting stuff out there that you're like, okay, this is not the prettiest thing in the world, or ooh, I definitely could have made this video better. To me, it's been freeing. To me, it has been so liberating to just be like, it's just gonna be what it's gonna be, and that's just what we're gonna do. And it's a journey. It is a journey. I'm in therapy over my perfectionism. I am not trying to say that that's like the easiest thing in the world. It's not. It's sometimes the hardest thing in the world. But I invite you to practice doing things badly. Practice making shitty stuff. You don't always have to put it out there in the world if you don't want to. It is an invitation for you. Okay. Boop. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I have two more ideas that I want to share that I think are good, and then I'm going to wrap up and we're going to head out. So, like, second to last idea that I have for you is, especially if you're someone that does need big breaks, or even if, like, you're going on vacation or something like that, set up your profiles or whatever, however people interact with you, set them up so that if and when you need to take a break, someone new coming in will know what to do, will know how to engage with you, will, be able to kind of understand your world. So that could be having a highlight on your Instagram reel that says start here. That could be announcing to your audience like, hey, I need a break, like things that you can do while I'm gone, etc. That could be sending an email out to your email list. That could be just posting on stories being like, I'm out, I need a break, see y'all later, if you want to stay in touch, sign up for this or whatever. It'll look different for every person, but kind of having that like structure in place, I think will help your nervous system feel a little bit safer in being able to step back, knowing that like if someone came and like there's no stories on my Instagram, or I haven't posted on TikTok in a couple of days, but like there's something for them to engage with and see how you work, I think that'll be really helpful. Okay, this was my last idea. I was kind of proud of my analogy. So I don't remember how I came up with this or like what made me think of this. But for some reason, when I was thinking of ideas, the visual of like birth control pills came up. And if you're a human that has taken birth control pills before, not all birth control pills are like this, but like the way mine were when I took birth control were like, you had the 3 weeks of the actual hormone or whatever it is, and then you had your placebo week. So, and the reason for the placebo pills, like you could just throw them away and not take them, but the purpose of them was to keep you in that routine of, oh yeah, I need to take my pill today. So, sorry, my notes just like disappeared. So I was like, oh my gosh, we could do the same thing for humans that need a routine and need that kind of reminder to do things every day. But like, what could the placebo be? Like, let's say it's a day where like you don't really need to post on social media, or you don't really have like something that you want to talk about or whatever, or you're low on spoons, you're low on energy. What could the placebo option look like? What could something be so that you're kind of taking an action to keep yourself engaged with the process for your creativity, but it doesn't feel like this overwhelming thing? So like an example I thought of for social media is like, if it's like, okay, I'm trying to like, maintain my relationship with social media, especially if you're someone where it's really hard to come back onto social media after taking a break. Maybe your placebo pill is, you just post a picture. Like you just post like a selfie and it's just, hey, this is what I'm doing today. Or, maybe you repost something from someone else's account. Or, if it's like TikTok, you do a duet where it's like, cool, like this person is doing the video. Like there are ways that we could build in ways for you to show up doing content that don't take a lot of energy, that keep you engaged in the process. That's only an idea if it's going to be helpful for you to stay engaged in that routine, if that's going to be helpful for your brain, for your nervous system, for your learning style. If you're someone where you're like, no, I just want to disengage and take a break, and we'll work on what that looks like me coming back, great. But that was an idea that came through. We'll see if it's helpful for someone. Okay, so I definitely have some more things that I could offer, but I'm going to wrap us up now. And I have a meeting at 11, so I need to get ready for that. So I'm just going to quickly recap some main points. I have a couple of invitations if you want to work in a little closer proximity, but no pressure. And then we'll close out for today. First, I just want to say thank you to the humans that have been here. It's made me feel not alone, and I really appreciate y'all. People watching the replay, like, thank you. Thank you. I painted this. It was at a, like, painting with a twist, so a teacher was telling me how to do it, but I did paint that. Okay. Main points. Consistency is heavily wrapped up with perfectionism, so we're trying to shift from output-focused consistency to values-based consistency. Paraphrasing Monique Melton, consistent output is the antithesis to humanity. She says that perfectionism is the antithesis to humanity. I think that consistent output is a part of perfectionism. So consistent output is the antithesis to humanity. Last, like if you're like, okay, what do I do next with this? My invitation for you is to slow down. Is to slow down in your process so that you can be able to recognize when that consistency narrative is showing up for you. And in the words of my therapist, get curious. Get curious about where that's coming from. Get curious about why it's presenting that self in that moment. Get curious about ways that you could be more compassionate to yourself, to release the judgment and invite in rest and creativity. Okay. One of the things that I think is going to be the most helpful in kind of figuring out what consistency looks like for you is coming back to that idea of like, what does my bare minimum look like? What does kind of my middle of the range energy output look like? And what does it look like when I have high energy? Next week, the topic that I have planned is talking about that low energy. Like, what do I do when I'm in a depressive episode? What do I do when and not like from the mental health perspective. I am not a therapist. This is not therapy. But like, what do I do when I'm just super overwhelmed and I still feel like I need to do stuff? Like that kind of low end of that energy spectrum, that's what we're going to dig into in a little bit more detail next week. And like I said, my one-on-one mentorship is really where we, like, that's my whole goal for the one-on-one mentorship, is to really unpack what does that spectrum look like for you in terms of what it looks like when you're in your low energy state, like really, really low energy, you know, your kind of average day, and when you have those bursts of high energy, what does that look like for you in terms of your relationship with social media? Okay, I'm gonna end there. Couple of invitations for you. If you would like to work one-on-one in more proximity with me, you can do that for no cost at all by joining the Creative Space Mighty Network community. I'm gonna start doing bi-monthly Q&As where I'm on Zoom, and it's basically kind of like office hours. So if you're not a part of our Mighty Network space, I invite you to check that out. And if you need help getting set up on Mighty Networks, we can schedule a time and I can walk you through it. Like, I got you. If you're looking for like, I really want to work with you in the closest proximity possible, I invite you to check out my one-on-one mentorship. We can dive into all of this for your specific unique experience. I'm currently doing like a little summer like closeout with my one-on-one, where if you sign up to work with me one-on-one before August 6th, you'll get an extra bonus call with like for no extra cost. So if you're interested in that, all the information for my one-on-one mentorship and our free community, the Creative Space, is at the link in my bio. And this training will get saved to my Instagram. So if you want to watch the replay, it'll be there. And check back tomorrow, both on Instagram and TikTok. I will have a recap, and I'll have like some prompts for you. I'll have the list of ideas that I have for you that you can save and kind of see if they're going to work for you, all that good stuff. So thank you so much for being here today. I want you to go rest today. I don't expect you to go take this and go, you know, revolutionize your social media today. I want you to go rest today. Whatever capacity you have, go watch TV, go pet your dog, go outside, like take a beat today and let this just kind of digest and simmer, and you'll get curious. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thanks, y'all.